G'day and welcome to Does It Matter? We often hear the old aphorism, boys don't cry, which is bullshit. Of course they do. Everyone cries. Everyone feels the things that elicit emotions and elicit responses in us. In the last 40 years, we have tried to engage in a number of different social experiments, many of which have been successful, making society a more peaceful, more civilized, less violent, less prejudicial place. Okay, as a person who grew up in a country that is more or less not particularly racist anymore, and used to be very racist, I've noticed the difference. Fantastic difference. Love it. All right. I've noticed many of the less useful anachronisms of the past being put aside. And I like that. It's good. It appeals to me. But I've noticed the baby being thrown out with the bathwater as well, all too often. And this is an example of one. Men and women aren't the same. We have parallel evolutionary tracks. Our brains are actually quite different. Women have far more interconnections between the relative sections of the brain, and men have far more interconnections within each section, but less across the brain. Women have a larger corpus callosum linking all those different sections of the brain up. Men have better night vision by a considerable margin. Women have better vision. They can see somewhere between 10 and 10 and a half, as many as 100 times the colors that men can. Women have a slightly better sense of smell. Men are much, much larger and much stronger on average, even pound for pound being the same, than women are. Much denser bone, extra pockets of bone in our face. There's so many differences between men and women that are not simply superficial, but are profoundly neurological as well. So, does that mean that we should treat each other differently? Yes, it does. Both because we're men and women, and because we're individuals, and individuals vary significantly. So not only is there a difference between genders or sexes, but there is also differences genetically between individuals. We are profoundly unique, each and every one of us. Telling a child that they shouldn't cry is wrong. Never done it, never will. Telling a child to breathe, to relax their muscles, to work on regaining control of the emotion they're feeling is vital. I have seen far too much indulgence of emotion without any understanding of how profoundly dangerous that is for both men and women in so many ways. It is probably the single most powerful lesson we ever learn. I am not my emotions. They are things that arise up within me, and I am in charge of them. I am responsible for them, and I will be held accountable for them. Sooner or later, no matter how kind and understanding and generous a society you live in, you will be held accountable for the way you react to things. You will be held accountable and judged, sometimes quite harshly and fairly, I might add, for the way that you handle your own emotions and your reactions to events and to other people. Telling a child to pull themselves together and showing them how to do it kindly, but firmly and repeatedly, is profoundly necessary. You are cruel beyond belief if you indulge a child's emotions. You are also cruel if you deny that child's emotions. It is neither one nor the other. It is yin and yang incarnate, the balance. Allow them to have an emotion, but immediately, as soon as possible, get them to start working on regaining control, on owning the landscape of their mind. It is the only thing we ever have is our mind. The only thing we ever own is our mind. and to a lesser degree, our physicality. You have control over your body and you have enormous control over your mind. Why would you take that away from children? Specious, disgusting, puerile, vapid ideologies that permeate this world in the name of nurturing and kindness. It's about as kind as a kick in the teeth, okay? It looks kind, but it is an example of the all-devouring mother. It is the I will nurture you to death. I will helicopter you until there's nothing left that can survive the vagaries of the world. And the world will always be difficult. There will always be difficulties. And we are always going to have to manage our reactions to them. Teaching children as early as possible, you're going to have an emotion. It's okay to cry. But I'm going to need you to take some deep breaths. I'm going to need you to start to feel your body again. I'm going to need you to stop the process of being lost in thought and lost in this emotion. And we're going to have to walk our way back to ownership, to control, back to where we actually are. You don't get to drown in this emotion. You have to get up, walk around, breathe. You have to regain yourself. Why the fuck would you teach innocent children to roll around like animals, like worse than animals? Because nature doesn't let animals indulge their emotions for very long, or they get eaten, they die. But we do. We're crueler than nature. No. Should you smack it out of them? No. Should you yell it out of them? No. You should explain to them and get them to track their own experience. Show them you understand. Show them you care. And then get them to start leading their own way out of the vagaries of their own mind, out of the weakness and the tumult of their own mind. Why would you indulge their chaos? It's cruel. It's cruel beyond belief. And if you do that, please, for the love of all that's holy, particularly your children, stop. You are not your thoughts. You are not your emotions. If I was my emotions, I wouldn't be here today. If I was every thought I'd ever had, my life would be chaos, and it isn't. It's the opposite. Because I do not think that everything that I think and everything that I feel is on some holy pedestal that must be recognized and represented and deified by everyone around me. Bullshit. People have got their own stuff to deal with. They don't have to deal with mine. Having said that, I appreciate understanding and kindness from others, and I've received it. I'm tremendously appreciative of it. But it behooves all of us from childhood onwards to not spill over onto everyone else, to not drown ourselves and everyone around us in indulgent hedonistic emotion. And that's so common now. It's so common. We have big emotions, and they get bigger as we get older. We love more deeply. We love more thoroughly. We feel everything more powerfully as we get older. Why would you not want to train a little child with commensurately smaller consequences and smaller emotions? Much, much, much less consequence for them expressing emotions and losing control of their emotions. Why would you not want to train them so that by the time they're growing into their adult body, powered by hormones and chemistry that's unbelievably powerful, by the time they're hitting puberty, they have some tools to manage themselves, to self-regulate. They have some ways of identifying themselves as being separate from what they're feeling, and being able to track that feeling back to thought patterns they might need to re-examine. How are they going to do that? If they're identifying with the tail end of the result, they're never going to dig back. They're never going to go down the rabbit hole and find out what's really going on. You deny them that investigation. You deny them the truth of their actual souls, the truth of their deeper self. Don't do that. For God's sakes, don't do it. Stop. Help them work through their emotions, work through the things that are not really who they are. They're just transient events that we feel. They're not who we are. We are the thinker, not the thoughts. We are the feeler, not the feelings. You may detect some frustration there. It's because I myself am not particularly good at this. Working very hard on it, getting better at it. But yeah, no one taught me. I learned this as an adult. It's really hard. And I don't want children to learn this as adults. It's much, much more difficult to learn how to be detached, to learn how to find your peace, to find center, to be rational, to fall back into reason. That's very difficult to do if you're learning it in your 20s and 30s or 40s, which is where most people are at nowadays. We need to teach our children not to identify with their feelings, not to deny them either, not to crush them down, but to investigate them, to pull back from them, to examine them. That's freedom. That's power. It's not power to deny. It's not power to pat someone's little head, catch all their tears and do all that stuff and indulge them. Tell them it's a wonderful opportunity to find out what is really happening inside them. It's an opportunity, a painful one, to investigate their inner world and how they actually work. And sometimes you're just training them to pick themselves up as quickly as possible, to accept the physical or emotional pain they're feeling and to get on with things. That's the initial lesson to begin with. And then you add more and more, you roll more in as their maturity shows that they can add that burden of learning to the process. But to expect 10, 12, 13-year-olds that I'm personally privy witness to at the moment, who have very little emotional regulation, who have pretty easy lives by comparison to many previous generations as well. And when they do encounter very, very difficult things, and they will, because life is still difficult, they will be even less equipped and less able to deal with those things. And it will be on us. It will be our fault. Gen X, Gen Ys, it'll be our fault because we did not teach them what they needed. And what they need sometimes is not what we want to give them. We want to cuddle them and protect them and keep them safe. Fuck that. Make them strong. Make them thoughtful. Make them take a breath or 5. Make them pause. Give them the skills to exist in adversity. Don't strip them of everything that will make them better because we want to indulge their feelings and we want to feel better ourselves. No. Cry, but get up. Feel pain, but move forward. These are the things they must learn. You are not those feelings. They will pass. This too shall pass. And you will be, regardless of what you're feeling and what is happening, you will be. You will continue to be. And you can be better. Us.